and welcome to your, oh my gosh, I've lost it, your November 2018 general reading. This is the second time I've done your reading, okay, because the door kept going and I just had to start again. I'm just trying to remember the biggest, okay, there was a little bit of, the biggest issue in your last reading, Leo, I am going to say it, was anxiety. Okay, the Nine of Swords showed up, but let's just stay with this reading, and if it comes up, I will talk about it again. What lies behind you is the Eight of Discs, and the Ten of Cups. So by the looks of it, the Eight of Discs is a card about having your head down and working really hard. And probably what you're working on is to do with this Ten of Cups. This sort of, the Ten of Cups is, I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it can be about the happy family, the union, the light, the rainbow after the storm, and having to have your head down and work really hard in order to achieve some goals. The Eight of Discs is a card about nearly being there. It's quite a high pentacle card, so there's some accomplishment, something's been worked for, and by the looks of it, the reward is here. Now you've got very similar cards to Scorpio as well. What you most want is the Nine of Wands, okay? Because this is what you most want, I think some Leos have been pushed beyond a level of okayness, okay? Because the Nine of Wands is what you most want is to have clear cut boundaries, okay? I think maybe because, yeah, what was behind you is the Hanged Man, I remember that. So Nine of Wands is about boundaries, having limit lines. It's almost like, I've had enough. I've had enough. This is what I want in my life. These wands. And this is what I'm going to get. Okay? It's like finding some power, finding some energy, and definitely reaching that limit line of enough is enough. Now the gift is the Ace of Swords, which means you're going to be seeing clear. The Ace of Swords can be quite a double-edged sword, because it depends. People say it's double-edged because a lot of people don't like the truth, essentially, okay? And it's only the truth that will set us free. But the Ace of Swords as a gift means you're going to be seeing things quite clearly. And as I say, what you most want is, I don't know, it's like you've got to this point and it's like, enough and no more. I want this, whatever I'm dealing with, resolved, and I want it resolved now, okay? Now, I would say that it takes quite a lot for you to be pushed to that level. So some of you might have been having to deal with this situation for far too long, okay? Now the challenge is the Emperor. That showed up for Scorpio as a challenge. So, and you've got the Empress here. Okay, this is the married couple in the deck. The male, the female, it doesn't matter what gender it is. It doesn't even matter if it's same sex, okay? But it's about a union going on here. But the challenge of the Emperor means if you're a female watching, it might be your male partner that's been the challenge. Or it's a problem to bring the stability of the Emperor into your life. And I cannot help getting a feeling, Leo, that you have just about had enough of it. But it's when we get to these points that we break through. And it's about learning to use the energy to our advantage and not be used by the energy. But I'll come back to this Emperor. So in your relationships, you've got the Ace of Cups. Divine love, yeah, it's also about fierce love, unconditional love. So even though it's a very, very beautiful card, it's not one of these cards that always give us bunny rabbits and, you know, that perfect reality. Because the Ace of Cups, because it's pure love, tends to be a love that can be very challenging, and that's why I call it a fierce love, because you might have to fight for it, you might have to, sometimes there's reasons why you can't be together. It's still my favourite card in the deck, but it can be really, really hard work, because you don't get cards like that, Leo, and you don't get blessings like that for some reason, unless there's challenges on your path, and I'm not the creator and I do not know why, okay? Money and work, you've got the Page of Wands, which tends to represent new opportunities, okay? There might be a few, but one sticking out. And you've got Treasure Island as your additional guidance card. So I think for some of you, there might be a little bit of sweet news coming your way. And the Empress is what's going on at a soul level. The Empress is very feminine energy. She births things, so she births new jobs, new relationships, that sort of thing. So a really fertile energy to have as what's going on at a spiritual level. The Empress would also be about good nutrition, looking after yourself, being very grounded and earthed, okay? Very, very much about self-love here. And she does extend outwards and offer her love to others, but she very much starts with love of her own self and her own well-being, okay? Now your outcome for now, first of all, the Three of Wands, a lot of people don't like. There's a feeling of still waiting, but then comes your own card, the Sun card, okay? The Sun card is an overriding yes. Whatever you've got going on, whatever you're waiting for, this is always, always, always the yes card. I don't think any reader would class the Sun card in any way. It's the most positive card in the deck. If I'm doing a reading for myself and the Sun's the outcome, I don't even read anymore. I just put the cards away because I know the situation's dealt with. But there's definitely a feeling. I'm going to ask why this Emperor is a challenge. Okay, yeah. Seven of Discs, sort of waiting energy. So imagine the Four as anything that's to do with, it could be another person, by the way, or it could be your self-stability, work. You know, he's that archetypal father of the deck. And with the Seven of Discs, there might be a feeling of the Emperor energy not moving. And I think for some Leos, there's definitely a feeling of you've just about had it, really, with that Nine of Wands. Just about a feeling, well, I've waited long enough. And having to put really, really strong boundaries down. Now, essentially, strong boundaries are about high self-esteem, which is the Empress at a soul level. Because it's okay to say no and to mean no. Actually, it's essential, even with the Empress, with the Ace of Cups especially, because when we talk about love of the Ace of Cups, you know, we are talking about that sort of very unconditional soulmate love, but even that needs boundaries. Or we just go drifting along on the ocean, which is, I think, really identical to your last reading, actually. There's definitely a feeling of having to wait for that Emperor. But I think whatever you're working with is going to be resolved with that solar energy towards the end of the month. But there's definitely a card about putting boundaries down. And the Queen of Swords has just appeared. Very interesting person, the Queen of Swords. I don't always read the Queen of Swords this way. I can't help it, Leo, with this Nine of Wands. She is often the most misunderstood queen in the deck. She has the ability to cut through illusions and cut through things, okay? She has really, really powerful boundaries, basically. But the Queen of Swords rules air. And air is also about the heart. So you cannot have one without the other. The Queen of Swords' boundaries give her a bad rap. But I don't think you get cards like the Empress unless you have very strong self-esteem and very strong boundaries, because there might be a feeling some Leos feel that they've been a bit pushed to the max and maybe taken a little bit of advantage of, and you want that issue resolved. And there's no greater card than the Sun to show that that issue will be resolved, Leo, okay? Okay, I'll be back next week. Loads of love. Bye.